I want to bring in now former State Department senior advisor in the Trump and Bush administrations, Christian Whiton. Christian, in a recent interview, President Trump was disappointed or that he hadn't or acknowledged that he wished he had gone to visit the troops so far. So this is something we know was high on his list of things to get done. It's still a pleasant surprise today. What do you make of the trip?
Yeah, it's an important step, I think, as you point out. He had been criticized by some and I think felt he wanted to visit troops. Of course, it's a huge logistical distraction of sorts when a president visits. I think the troops are happy to see him and especially happy to see the First Lady. So it's a good step. The fact also that it happens during a shutdown, we see the sort of power of the bully pulpit, the power of a president to rise above his rivals in Congress. I think it'll be seen as a very good move, a power move, an effective use of time over Christmas. And importantly, if you look at the statement thanking the work of the troops there, because, of course, we're pulling out of Syria, and the press has been careful to point out, his opponents have pointed out that we only have 2,000 troops in Syria. But if you look at the logistics of the overall Syria operation region-wide, including a lot of forces we have in Iraq, they are involved, too. So as he begins to shift away from that and potentially a big drawdown in Afghanistan, to thank them for their sacrifice, I think is important.
Chris, so you think the reaction by the mainstream media with respect to the Mattis resignation was overdone? Listen, I thought he was there for a long time. There have been rumors from the very beginning that, he was uncomfortable. It wasn't necessarily a good fit. They did a joint effort together that I thought was very successful. President Obama had several defense secretaries with much shorter tenures, and I just didn't think it rose up to the level of a constitutional crisis that you saw across headlines when the news broke.
Right. The Secretary of Defense, it's always a dead-end job, really. It's a cursed position. It was from the first person who held it in 1947, who ended his life early. Mattis did what Mattis was brought in to do, which was to kill ISIS, and he did a masterful job. But now that that's accomplished, thankfully, you can do a shift to what Donald Trump promised to do, which is end nation building and curtail these endless wars in the broader Middle East, from Afghanistan to Libya. Those things still cost us $50 or $60 billion a year if you add Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. And that's money that could be better spent building ships and missiles and aircraft for the Pacific to prevent a war with China.
We know that the esprit de corps was very low when President Trump came into office. He fought very hard for raises for the troops that they hadn't seen in a long time. This last spending bill was, he compromised on many things that Republicans normally wouldn't to get the money that you just alluded to rebuild the military capabilities there. Do you have a sense of where the esprit de corps might be right now within our military?
I think it is actually pretty good. If you look inside the Beltway, of course, people are shocked that we might actually end a war, declare victory. But if you get away from the politicos, and if you get especially into the enlisted ranks, the senior non-commissioned officers or any non-commissioned officers that make up the real guts of our military, if you will, I think they are very supportive of this president. And he has fought hard for that budget this year, $717 billion. That may be the high watermark of the defense budget in the Trump administration, because with the Democrat-run House of Representatives, the only way to go is down. But he has gotten some real resources for them.
Kristen, where do we go from here? There was a report out earlier today, Russia firing off one of those new missiles that they claim can't be detected, potential military buildup in Asia, perhaps unlike one we've ever seen, China's military belligerence, building these man-made islands and now militarizing them. It's still a very uneven, very dangerous world out there.
It is, and that's why I think that, if Trump makes the case carefully, we're not just running away from the Middle East, but shifting to the Reagan-era posture we had, which is a Navy and Air Force-centric one. And that also works if there's a crisis with Russia, which I think is unlikely, or a crisis with China, which unfortunately I think is more likely. Having more forces out there to deter something, because you're right, as China has undergone this decades-long, very significant military buildup with a lot of stolen Western technology, no country has ever really had a naval buildup like that and never wanted to have an adventure, including our own. So taking the resources that he saves from the shift, and also, importantly, getting a Secretary of Defense who believes in that. Mattis wasn't very Pacific-focused. We do fewer freedom of navigation sailing efforts against the Chinese now than we did at the end of the Obama administration. Mattis was also opposed to Trump's policies on the Paris Climate Accord, on pulling out of Iran, on moving the embassy. So a support of SecDef would be nice.
We've got less than a minute to go, but is there a distinction, or can you make it, between prudent, prudent use of our young men and women, particularly with respect to their lives, and pulling out of global leadership, which is the way it's articulated in the mainstream media. Are we pulling away? Are we giving up? Are we creating a vacuum with respect to the global leadership position?
Mm-hmm. That's the hardest decision a president or a secretary of defense will have to make in advising the president is over, combat operations that will result in the loss of lives. And the way things have been going recently, for every one person killed in action, you may have 10 people who are maimed. And then, of course, we have 20 veterans who die each day by suicide. So the cost is bigger than, frankly, it looks. But I don't think, you see people in particular in old Europe grousing about the withdrawal of U.S. leadership. But if, people see where the defense budget is going and they see a president who's unafraid to act, whether it's bombing Syria or moving forces to the Pacific, I think that'll be good.
Kristen, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles.